All right, welcome back to another episode of The Final Word, episode 10 of The Final Word. We are slowly closing in on a year of The Final Word, which is very exciting. Gary is shaking his head in disbelief. I can't believe we've made it almost a year. We should try and plan and make the 1 year anniversary of The Final Word a special episode, and I've got some ideas. Maybe we could discuss some possible ideas for the 1 year of the final word. I think we could do something fun if you're into it. But thank you for continuing to listen and support the podcast. It is greatly appreciated. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're sharing the podcast out, telling a friend. All that stuff helps a ton. Follow us on all of the social platforms and things like that. Yeah, thanks for tuning into another episode. I, of course, am joined by my co-host Gary. Gary, how you doing, buddy?
Great.
Always
So
do,
great.
always doing great. Gary is a little under the weather, so I do appreciate you making an appearance, even though you basically have been ill for what is coming up on 4 weeks now, which
Don't
is
say
not
that.
great.
Don't say it.
You don't
Don't
want me to
tell
tell,
people.
you don't want
Well,
people to know?
well, you already did.
Well, we can cut it, but what does it matter if people know how long you've been sick
I
for?
don't know. I just don't want people to know that
Gary
I've been
isn't
sick for a month.
he hasn't been feeling good. I think what's
Well, I don't know what the
all
fuck
right,
it
you
is.
clearly all right. But you have symptoms, right? What we discussed a little bit, nausea, you can't eat
Yeah,
food is an
nausea.
issue,
Can't eat. Can't sleep.
tired.
Uh, Tired. Uh, don't feel good. Don't want to go to work. Uh, Getting in trouble for not
That,
wanting to go to work.
those aren't
People that I
symptoms.
work with are people, they're like, Why aren't you going to work?" And I'm like, I don't feel like it. Like, there's a lot. That's pretty much it. I
All
don't
right.
feel like it, everyone.
So your symptoms are not feeling like it. Got it.
I don't
If
feel
any
like it.
if anybody out there has had similar symptoms, please hit us up, let us know so we can fix poor Gary. He's not doing well. Looking shredded though, down a couple of lbs, which ain't so
Dude,
bad.
20 pounds, 20
Oh,
pounds.
okay. He'll talk about that, but he won't give you the symptoms.
I don't feel like it. I don't feel
All
like
right.
any of
Look,
this
I
shit.
clearly I know you don't feel like it. I get it. You don't want to go to work. You don't want to do the podcast. You don't want to tell
Barely want to do
people.
this.
I
Yeah,
mean,
just
yeah, he showed up 10 minutes late. I thought for sure it wasn't happening. But we're here and Gary, this may be his last episode. I know we just talked about making it to 12, rounding out a full year of the final word, but if we don't get these symptoms figured out, it may be just me sadly doing episode 12 alone.
dude, if I die on this podcast, I
Oh
think it
man.
might make it.
Yeah, dude. I mean, look, I
We
would try and promote that as much as possible
I would
and
absolutely
really
understand that.
try and get some sympathy follows, some sympathy
Yeah.
listens. If you could bump up our subscribers by look, I don't even think you need to die, but if we could do like a podcast from like your hospital bed, that could be pretty good.
That makes me very sad that you
We'll
say
get you
that.
we'll get you we'll get you the Zoom app on your phone. We'll figure it out.
And I'll just be in a bed. You know, this is weird. It's a weird thing to say.
Okay. A little too real for Gary. All right, we're gonna keep on trucking here. Some fun announcements for the podcast. I'm very excited to announce that we are going to start putting out Obsessed with Death comics. Obsessed. I haven't told Gary this. It's going to be some news for him as well. There is a incredibly talented artist that has become a fan of the show and wants to get involved. And I pitched this idea that I've been thinking about for a while, which is creating comics based on Obsessed with Death episodes. So it's happening. It's hopefully gonna start within the next couple of weeks. This comes out in about 2 weeks, actually. So it may have already come out. Who knows? But keep your eye. Follow us on Instagram, Obsessed with Death Pod. Just Google us. Follow all the stuff. And yeah, super excited for the Obsessed with Death comic. It's basically just going to be like those old school like comic strip comics, and they'll all be related to the podcast. And yeah, I'm super pumped about it.
This is the first one.
The first one is in the works right now, and it should come out on all the social media stuff in the next few weeks. That's the plan right now.
Okay. So,
All right, Gary's super excited about it, clearly.
I mean, I am excited about it. I just don't know who the fuck it is.
I'll show you the stuff later, but I just wanted to, maybe surprise you with a fun announcement and get a little pop. But
Okay. I'm being a absolute bore.
all
Sorry.
right, perfect. So keep an eye out for that. I'm very excited about it. It should be a cool little thing that we're going to start doing for the podcast. But yeah, let's get into it. There's one thing I wanted to mention really quick before we start with some of these stories. There's a video that I shared on the Obsessed with Death Instagram recently, where this girl, she made this like fun. It's like a trending thing on TikTok right now, where they pretend they're at a concert and really they're at a funeral. And they're not always at a funeral, but this one they were at a funeral. And at the end of the video, they show a man lighting a fuse of a cannon, and a cannon just shoots into like this like open area of water. And it turns out that they were at her grandfather's funeral, and her grandfather built this cannon himself and was cremated and then put in the cannon, and they shot him out of the cannon at his funeral.
That is legendary. That's
I mean,
insane.
first of all, the idea that you could shoot yourself out of a cannon after you've been cremated is something I didn't know was possible. The fact that
Ha-
he made the cannon himself is even cooler, and the fact that he had the the foresight to go, look, I'm going to die soon. Let's get this all on the books. Let's figure this out. I want to be shot out of a cannon at my funeral. I'm on my phone. I'm Googling how much does a cannon cost? Can you rent a cannon? How much does it cost to have to use a cannon for 3 hours? I would like to be shot into the ocean. I guess we need a boat too, so I got to Google how much it costs to rent a boat. Gary, if I die before you, will you make sure that I'm shot out of a cannon at my funeral?
Rob, I got to tell you two things. First of all, I love you.
Okay.
Second of all, I will make sure all of your death wishes are not only like appropriated, but I'll mediate all of them. I'll work with your family. I'll make sure every single fucking thing happens that you want to happen. If you want to get shot out of a cannon from a boat, I got you.
Okay. That's all I needed to hear.
I hope that you do the same, but also like I'd hope that everybody, because you got how many sisters? You have two sisters,
I have two sisters, yes.
and you got dad and a
And I got,
mother.
yep, all of that is true.
So you got four people that are like that I would have to
Don't worry about
play with
them.
you.
Don't worry about
Okay.
them. There will be. I'll have spoken to a lawyer. There will be some legally binding paperwork that says this needs to be done, and I'll just put you in charge of it. And if my I can't imagine my parent. I'm probably going to outlive my parents. You don't need to worry about them.
Okay.
They'll hopefully will be dead before I'm dead. Just because
But
that's
you
how the
think your
world works.
sisters are gonna let me shoot you out of a cannon just on my own? Like
I
just like
will I will make sure that look, if I have to make one of those videos that starts off with if you're watching this I'm dead, I'll make one of those videos, okay? I will
okay.
make one of those videos. I will appropriately sign all of the documents that need to be signed so that you will be in charge of I'll probably acquire the cannon before. If the doctor comes in and he goes, "Look, you got 48 hours. I'm gonna get on Craigslist. I'm gonna find a cannon and I'm gonna book it or I'm gonna buy it. What do I care? I'm dead. I'll put it on a credit card. People that sell cannons or rent them take credit cards, right?
Yeah, they
I'll,
do. Yeah.
I'll figure it out. I want to be shot out of a cannon into the ocean.
Mhm.
Now, does that mean I want my funeral to take place near a body of water? No, these are going to be two separate occasions.
I don't
I
understand that.
I'm well there will be a set. I already have I've talked about this. My funeral is going to take place at a very specific place at a very specific time.
Okay.
There are certain types of weather conditions that need to be happening for the funeral to even happen. It can't happen on a sunny day. Look, all of this will be documented. It doesn't matter.
Don't you don't want any sunny days?
It needs to be cloudy and it needs to at least be misting. If it's pouring rain, even better. But there needs to be clouds. And what is it? Nimbus cloud? What do we need for rain? I need a nimbus cloud. Okay,
Cumulonimbus, maybe.
I need it to be whatever. It doesn't matter. The funeral will happen. And then from the funeral, maybe it doesn't have to be the same day. There's going to be a lot going on that day, but within a week's period, there will be a cannon placed on some sort of boat. A select few people will be on that boat. And Gary, if you're still around, brother, I would love for you to light the fuse on the cannon and just fire me straight into the ocean.
Listen,
I'm
I
listening.
will, I will, I will do that for you.
Yeah.
If you outlive me, I will do that for you. I just want to make sure that the remaining family understands that this is your last wish because I can't be the only one on that boat being like, we got to shoot Rob into the fucking
I mean,
Pacific Ocean.
technically, this podcast is documentation of me wanting it right now.
That's true.
I mean, look, no one in my family is going to go, that's not real. This is some fake news podcast. That's AI, Rob talking right there. This is me. I'll spit out my social security number right now so you know it's true. Okay, this is happening. This is what I want. I hope whoever's listening to this is paying attention
Why do you want to go into the ocean?
because what where else am I going to go? You're going to shoot me into the desert? That's so boring. I feel like
Okay.
the ocean is like this living organism on our
That
planet.
will eat you.
Well, dude, look, I would at one point in my life, I wanted to have my full body thrown into the ocean and live on the bottom of the ocean floor with all the dead whales and
Like
sharks.
Osama
And
bin Laden, right?
if you could find out the coordinates of where they dumped bin Laden
Put you there.
and try and get me close. No, I would not like that. I want you to, this is getting very detailed now, but as I'm thinking about it, I want you to find an area that is heavily populated with whales. Because
Mm,
what happens with most whales is they
mhm.
die and then they just sink to the bottom of the ocean.
That's
The
true.
bottom
And
of
then
the
they
ocean
wash
is
up.
just one big whale graveyard.
It is. Yeah,
So
that's what they do.
I would like to be a part of that. Now, again, you're not putting my dead body in a cannon. I'm going to be cremated, and then you're going to form my part of my remains into a
Into
cannonball,
cannibal.
and then you're going to shoot me into the ocean.
Okay. Seems
Oh, look,
expensive.
I will
Can you
find a guy.
Venmo me?
I will. The funds will be in an offshore bank account.
Okay.
I don't know why I said offshore. They'll be in my Bank of America account, and you will get access to the funds to pay for all of this.
Okay.
I
Because
will
I
make
think it's
sure.
gonna cost like 10 grand to make you a cannibal, dude.
There's got to be a guy who just like, look, if maybe you just get a cannonball and then you hollow out a hole and you just pour me in
Pour
it,
you in. Okay. All right. I'll
and
try
then and
that.
then you seal it up,
Yeah.
put a little putty on
Plug.
that hole,
Yeah.
and then you throw me in the cannon and you shoot me into the ocean.
I think that's still about 10 grand, dude.
I'll pay for
Honestly.
it.
Okay. I'm
I
just
will
saying.
I will go to cash loans for 49% interest.
Who's that guy that like is like JD? What is that guy's
JD
name?
Wentworth.
JD Whitworth will go to him and fucking
Look, I
send you into the ocean.
I will get Lerner and Rowe to sign all the documents, and we will shoot me into the ocean because that is what I want. Then that'll be the end of it. Maybe I'll buy the cannon and then you can just kick the cannon into the ocean.
Yeah, or I'll resell it. Like I just
Or yeah, you sell it.
yeah.
Only used one time, basically
Yeah,
new.
it's a basic it's a one-time
I've
cannon.
only I've only shot one dead person out of it,
Yeah,
and
it's one cannonball out of here.
some World War. Do they use can? They didn't use cannons. Some Civil War reenactor
Yeah, Civil
will
War.
purchase it to do
All
the
that bullshit that
reenactments
they
at
do. Yeah. Mhm.
Williamsburg, whatever.
Yes, exactly. All
Look,
right.
maybe you'll
I
be able
think
to
I could
flip it.
figure it out.
Maybe you'll make 5 grand on the whole thing.
What if I made money on your death?
I'd love that. I would be fine with that. I just want to. I want to have the funeral I want to have.
Yeah, it's like a Viking funeral.
It is very similar, yes. I believe the Viking funeral is you put the body on a boat and then you push the boat out
And then
into
you
the ocean and then you
and
shoot flaming arrows at it.
flaming arrows at it. You hit it with flaming
So,
arrows. Yeah.
look, I'm not going to make you procure flaming arrows
It
and
seems like it would be
learn
cheaper.
how to
Are
use a
you
bow
sure?
staff.
I'd rather
No,
do that. I think
I'm
it's
sorry.
cheaper.
It needs to be a cannon, and you need to shoot me into the ocean.
I love it.
That is the full plan.
All
And
right.
now, it does immediately make me think, I need a backup person because what if you die before me? Based off of the symptoms that you have right now, I may
Shut
outlive
up.
you.
Yeah, I know. It
I
sucks.
mean, we could do a whole podcast episode on who we think is gonna
Die
live longer.
first. Yeah.
I feel like that's your worst nightmare, so we won't do that episode. But yeah, the video is so funny. I love it's why I love the internet so much is that something like that could be created where this poor girl is at her grandfather's funeral. The funniest part about the video too is they do like the whole bit and whatever, and then the video cuts to the dad lighting this cannon and the cannon's firing, and then all of the comments are like, "Did you just shoot your dead grandpa out of a cannon?" And all of her responses are like, "What? No." Because her grandpa was like this like veteran and built the cannon, whatever. She legitimately thought they were just firing the cannon. It's like some sort of like salute at the funeral, and then she shows a screenshot of the group chat, the family group chat, and they're like, no, grandpa was in the cannon. We shot grandpa out of the cannon."
Yeah.
It's a great video. I'll send it
He
to you,
was
Gary.
in the cannon.
Yeah, well, no, his ashes were again.
I
This isn't
think
like the circus where they're shooting a full-bodied human through a cannon, which I'm not opposed to, but I already have other plans, so we can't do both.
I like your idea. I think that I just want to be kind of spread naturally and unweirdly, like across
I'm
like a
sorry. What my idea is weird.
little bit, a
All
little
right.
bit, a little
Okay.
bit,
I
a
don't
little
think
bit weird,
unweirdly is a word, by the way, but go ahead.
a little bit weird. I would like to just be spread. I like the idea of over the ocean. I like over rocks or something like that. Yeah, I would say that your idea of being shot out of a fucking cannon is on par with this entire podcast. You're obsessed with death. I do like it. I do like it. And
Look,
if listen,
yeah.
if I outlive you, you got it. If
All right,
I'm
buddy.
still here and you're
And
gone, I got you.
I'll need to come up with a list of people. I have one friend in mind who I'm almost positive is going to outlive me. And again,
Who
look,
is it?
maybe you will. It doesn't matter. I don't need to be putting.
I want to know.
Well, I'll tell you later, but I don't need to put their
All
business out on
right,
the
okay,
podcast.
okay,
But I gotta.
okay. Somebody that's gonna live later than us, you don't want to tell.
Well, I don't need to say people's names that aren't currently
Uh,
on an episode of the podcast, but
Okay.
I got one buddy who's clearly, much healthier mentally and
I
physically
forget his
than I
name.
am. So,
Blair.
yeah, there you go. It's Blair. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure this podcast has basically just become my living will, and
Oh.
everything on here has been documented. So hopefully somebody will go back. I got to do like a best of episode where it's just me talking about all of the different things I want to happen at my funeral. And then I could put in my will, go back to best of 2024, listen to the episode, you'll know exactly what to do.
We have to do a living funeral for you, dude.
I really would like to do. I've it's been discussed. I'm sure we've talked about it. I would love to do some sort of living funeral as like, and then also it becomes like a podcast. And I just uncomfortably make all of my friends come on separately on mic and talk about how great I am. And that's
Yeah,
and that's the whole episode.
that would be sick.
And then we have a
We,
pizza party afterwards.
yeah, exactly.
That's
I ate
part of
pizza. I ate pizza today. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
that's part of my funeral plan as well. Is it ends with a pizza party.
I love that. All right.
So anyway, the internet's great. I saw that video last night and I watched it like 15 times. I was just giggling in the dark in my bed alone at 9 p.m. Just really having a good time.
Have you seen Long Legs yet?
I have not.
Oh
I
my
haven't.
God.
It's a horror movie, right? I don't really
Yes,
do horror movies.
it's the most horrific horror movie I've seen since makes you sick.
Yeah.
Made me sick.
What is enjoyable about that? I don't get it.
I don't think I really don't understand it either. I don't understand why I incessantly watch it. I rented it, so I had it for like 72 hours
Yeah.
and I watch it 3 times. And I'm just like,
That's
I don't know why
crazy.
I'm watching
Three
this. I know.
times?
Yes,
Now,
dude.
granted, we are asking people to listen to a podcast that only talks about death, and I'm sitting here going, "What's the enjoyment of a horror
Yeah,
movie?" But
why do you like this?
I get that is a little contradictory, but I don't when I watch a movie, I want to enjoy myself. I want to laugh. I want to take myself out of, my world for a little bit. And if I'm leaving my world to go into another for 90 minutes, I don't want to be terrified the whole time.
Yeah, 120 minutes just of absolute terror. He's so weird. Everything looks so strange. It's framed well, I'll say that, but like it is an unenjoyable, like weird experience.
Yeah.
It is crime, thriller, horror at all the same time. It's disgusting.
Well, that's a great review. I'm sure people are going to check. I do love the idea of you giving movie reviews. and
I
and
I
every
hated it,
movie
everyone.
review is like, it was gross. I almost threw up. I watched it 3 times.
It made me sick and I watched it 3 times. Yes.
I absolutely hated every moment of it. 5 stars.
Didn't like it at all. 5 stars.
I love it. All right. So anyway, I just had to get that out because I've been thinking about it nonstop all day today. I'm sitting in work meetings and I'm just writing notes down in my notebook on, Google price for cannons. How much does a cannonball weigh? This is just my whole day today.
Like
People are
10
like
pounds.
asking me questions about work, and I'm like, hold on, let me close out of these 9 tabs about cannons.
That's so weird when you gotta kill tabs because you're like, what have I been doing all
Hold
day?
on a second, guys. I've been on mute. No, I haven't been listening to anything you're saying. Anyway, shout out to that girl's grandpa. He's a fucking legend. Shout
That's a
out to that
legend
man.
move, man.
All right. So the first story that I want to get into is something that I posted about online. Some people had some interesting reactions to it. And I was sort of confused by the whole thing, not in like, not surprised confused, but more confused in the sense that something like this is even allowed. So Disney was recently sued for a wrongful death lawsuit. And basically, to sum it up in 2 seconds, they basically have some wording in their Disney Plus agreement form that basically makes it to where you can't sue Disney for anything.
Hmm.
If you've signed up for a Disney Plus account, if you've ever signed any sort of like online agreement with Disney, they are cleared of any wrongdoing for anything, including a death of a human being.
Okay.
There's a man that is suing Disney because his wife was eating at a restaurant in Disney World, Disneyland, or it was a oh
Yeah.
no, it was a Disney Springs restaurant in Florida.
Hmm.
The apparently she had some really clearly serious food allergies, and she told them, like, look, I am deathly allergic to this, this, and this. Please make sure those are not a part of my meal, which is a whole nother thing because if I was deathly allergic to anything, I would never eat at a restaurant ever. I would never be able to trust anyone to cook me a meal if I knew that if I ate the wrong thing, I would die. I mean,
Do
look,
you think it's
I've worked in a lot of kitchens. I know what these stoner cooks look like. You're trusting 19-year-old Kyle to make your food so you don't die.
I guess I would ask if his name was Kyle.
If your line cook's name is Kyle, Chad, or Ryan,
Brad.
make sure
Brad
he is
Ryan.
nowhere near my food.
Yeah, I guess that's what I would ask. But I just don't think like how could you live this way? Like you couldn't always live like that. Like you go out, like
You'll
you
be
have a
okay.
husband.
You're going to Disney World. Pack a lunch, lady. Pack a lunch. Now, look,
You think it's on her?
I'm not saying Disney is in the right at all, and this just makes Disney even more evil for the fact that, and we're going to get
Yes.
into it a little bit. The
Yeah.
whole point of this article is that Disney basically went to the judge and was like, "Look, if the husband would have read his Disney Plus agreement back in
That's
2019,
insane.
he
It's
would have known that
insane.
he can't even sue us right now. He
By
already
the
agreed that
b-
we're not in the wrong."
by the way, he did not he signed up for a free trial in 2020, like
Yeah,
during the pandemic, when it
yeah.
was like basically free. So like the idea that they could commit him to this is insane. And
It's to
also
everyone. Anyone who's got a Disney Plus account, you are now basically ineligible or for to sue Disney if anything happens to you on their property.
the lawsuit is for $50,000. Why wouldn't they just pay it out?
Well, yeah, I mean
It's 50
50,000,
grand.
50 grand to Disney is like a nickel. The fact that Disney hired some lawyer and he's like, "Hey, I got a good idea." Nobody reads these. When's the last time you read an agreement for anything you've signed up for?
I mean, this is like harkening back to like a South Park episode where they
A
talked
hundred
about
percent. Yeah.
like Apple. Like nobody reads this shit.
it was the human centipede episode.
Yeah. Yes.
Go back and
No,
go watch the human centipede episode. It was all about the iTunes agreements, how everyone just basically clicks agree and then just moves on with their lives.
I don't
And you never
read.
think about it because they're incredibly long documents. No one they know no one's going to read them. Disney knew nobody would ever read this, and some young hotshot lawyers like, "Hey Disney, I got a great idea. Everyone's going to sign up for Disney Plus. They're just going to click OK on the agreement, and then you're never going to be able to get sued for anything ever," which is just
Disney
so evil.
Disney said in a statement that given the sensitivity of the case, we've decided to waive our right to arbitration and have the matter proceed in court. So,
Yeah, because dude, the story went global, and
yes,
they're probably getting so much shit for this, rightfully so.
it's evil. You're right. I mean, like there's no other way to describe it other than you've described it. It's evil. It's $50,000. Somebody's dead.
By the way,
Um,
why is he suing for? I would sue them for $50 million.
I know. It's $50,000.
Like
It's 50
it
grand
only makes you feel worse for the guy because he's like, look, I just want to cover the cost
of
of
my
their
fucking wife's
funeral.
funeral. Yeah.
I'm sure they didn't live in Florida. They probably traveled to Florida, so getting her
Yeah.
body back to wherever they came from, that's expensive.
Hmm.
He just wants to cover all of those costs. And Disney should anytime someone dies at Disneyland, Disney should immediately go, we're covering the whole thing. We they should have a bank account that just pays for funerals for anybody, even if grandpa chokes on a corn dog or has a heart attack on the tilt-a-whirl or whatever. He's in the teacup and has an aneurysm. They should just pay for it.
Can I
Yeah.
give you this?
Yeah, give it to me.
All right. The restaurant was not owned by Disney.
That's some other legal stuff though, because it was on Disney's property. It's a
I'm just
Disney
saying
Springs restaurant. It says Disney in the title. I mean, look,
it isn't owned or operated by Disney. It's a tenant of the Disney Springs area of the amusement park in Orlando, Florida. So it's another company
some
that runs
semantics.
it.
It's the same thing as saying he signed a Disney Plus agreement 6 years ago and he can't sue us now because he agreed not to.
I
It's
agree with you.
crazy.
I agree with you. I
Now,
completely agree with you. But I think that like there is probably logistics here, but I don't know why Disney would fight over $50,000. It's
it's
insane.
a weird flex. I mean, the whole thing it makes no sense to me, and I fully agree. $50,000 is nothing to Disney. You again, they would get such good PR if they would have just been like, you know what, we want to pay for everything.
Yeah,
Like,
we'll give you
don't
five
sue
hundred thousand
us.
dollars.
Yeah,
Yes,
we're gonna make it so that the husband doesn't have to work for 5 years,
right.
and we're gonna pay for the funeral.
Yes,
You could have it at Disney World if you want, and
and
we'll cover all the costs.
we'll put you in a cannonball and shoot you into the fucking
Goofy will light the fuse,
yeah. Goofy
and
lights up his.
you think Disneyland doesn't have a cannon somewhere on the property?
They got a cannon,
They got a cannon.
and
They
they'll
got a
just
cannon.
throw you right into the castle. Who cares?
They got a cannon. They will shoot you, and then the body will go so deep into the sky that a light will flash and it'll do the Disney symbol like in the movies, and it'll be beautiful.
Yeah, it'll they'll do the
I
whole
thought that
like
would have got a bigger laugh, but it's okay.
sorry, but they'll do the whole fireworks show based on your cannon body going
They will
into the.
sprinkle her ashes into all of the fireworks at the New Year's Eve celebration. You ever go to Disneyland for New Year's Eve?
No, I would love to.
I went one year. I was like 17 and I went with some friends. It is first of all, the worst time to go to Disneyland because there's so many people. But we were kids. We took a road trip. It was fun, but it's spectacular. I
Oh
I think
yeah.
I think fireworks are stupid. I will go on the record right now. If you enjoy fireworks, you're a fucking idiot. But
You think so?
but
I love
but
them.
but but it was a spectacle at Disneyland. I will say that. And again, so many opportunities. They could have wrote her name, R.I.P. Susan, in the fireworks. If I wasn't using my friend's Disney Plus account, I'd
I
cancel
know.
it right now.
I know. I'm using my sisters, and I'm,
And
I'm.
I'm glad. I'm glad they're not getting my $8.99 a month.
Yeah, they're not getting my fucking ten
I haven't
bucks.
signed anything. I'll go to Disneyland and kill myself right now and have my whole family sue the shit out of them.
Yeah, because I'm not a part of your bullshit. I didn't pay for
Crazy.
anything, and then I kill myself in your
You shouldn't.
place.
The fact that you have a Netflix account should not mean that you can't sue Netflix if you wrongfully die at like a Netflix movie premiere. If you're at Moana 12 and a boulder falls on you and you die during the movie premiere, you should be able to sue. That's actually another Disney movie, but you get my point.
Is it okay to fucking always go after companies that have so much money? And like, what does that do to everybody else? Because like, let's say that this per 50,000 is nothing. They should have paid it out. They should have just gotten rid of this problem. It's
Yeah.
insane that they didn't. But like, if it's like what you were saying, like 500 million or something like that, and then that just like raises the price of everything at one of these places, like,
All right.
does that
Well,
kind of suck too?
I think those are separate things. Inflation and lawsuits, I think, are just two different worlds. I don't
But
think that
why?
those two are connected.
But why would a legal team fight a $50,000 lawsuit if they didn't think that it was going to make
Well, because
a
that's their
big
job.
blowback?
They're defending Disney, and they go, my job is to save Disney as much money as possible in legal fees, and we have this amendment in the Disney Plus agreement to stop this from happening. So of course we're going to do it, and I'm sure they hope that it doesn't become a national news story, but it does, and now everybody just is reminded because everyone knew this already, but now you're reminded how shitty Disney is.
I think
Now,
you're probably right.
just quickly, and I don't want to do a whole episode on how shitty Disney is, but I just want to go back to my first point. And look, this woman should be allowed to live her life. She should be able to go to a restaurant and let them know that she has food allergies and be able to eat in a restaurant. She should be allowed to do that and not be terrified to go to a restaurant and eat a meal. But someone like me, who is terrified of everything and trusts nobody, especially some Kyle line cook at a Disney resort,
Right.
I would never, if I had these deathly allergies to food, I would trust nobody. If I went to Disney World, I'd go to the restaurant with my family and I would pack my lunch. They could all order whatever they want at the restaurant and I'll be there eating my bologna sandwich. So I do have I'm a little bit on the side of why are you eating at a sketchy Disney restaurant when you're deathly allergic to all of these things? At the same time, you are allowed to live your life, and her husband should be allowed to sue you because she was very clear on what could happen, and she still died from it. So I see a little bit. I wouldn't say I see both sides. I just see it as I would be way more cautious, and Disney is basically one of the most evil corporations of all time.
Yes. I mean, I cannot believe that they are fighting over 50 grand. Like, if they just paid that out, like, no one would even be talking about
They
this.
could have
It's
cut them a
insane.
check at the restaurant
Yes.
and be done with it.
Yes. It didn't
But
need to get this far at all.
all right,
You made the perfect point.
that's all I got
50,
for
50 grand is a nickel. It's a nickel to them. It literally is a
it's
nickel.
honestly it's less than a nickel. It's crazy. Disney is they got to be close to $1 trillion
Yeah.
business at this point.
Yeah. Why are you not doing that?
It's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
I
All
think
right.
we touch on this all the time on the podcast, and
Yeah.
it's like I just don't understand why like major corporations are sitting there fishing. What's the point? What's the point, Boeing? What's the point, Disney? What
I
are you
know.
doing?
There's so many opportunities for them to look like heroes, and
Eh,
there's
decent. Yeah.
that just again goes to the fact that all these corporations are literally run by evil people. There's not one good person working for these companies, because if there was, there would be one guy who actually has some power that could go, "Hey, we would actually look incredible if we went this way instead of that way." But
Yeah.
there's nobody thinking that way.
I
All they're
know.
thinking is, well, if this guy gets 50 grand,
If this
then
guy wins, then
everybody's
everyone's
gonna
gonna win.
want
Yeah,
everyone's
exactly.
gonna want 50 grand. And
Yes.
then my bonus check gets cut in half.
Yes,
And
exactly.
you know, all right. Well, now we're
Fuck
just
them.
steering away from death and moving towards corporate greed, which
Corporate
is
agreement.
another podcast we'll be starting at some point here. But all right. So the next story I want to get into is going back to the death of Chandler Bing. Is it disrespectful to call him that? Matthew Perry died just over a year ago. He died from a ketamine overdose. And when he died, I would say the next couple of months afterwards, everyone just sort of assumed that his heart gave out, right? That they found him in his hot tub. They assumed he had some sort of cardiac arrest and drowned in the hot tub. He was by himself. And that has completely changed now. There have been two doctors, a personal assistant, and others that have been charged in connection with the now overdose death of Matthew Perry. He apparently died from acute ketamine intoxication in October last year in 2023. And the individuals that have been charged include a drug dealer known as the Ketamine Queen, which is
Ketamine
like,
Queen.
I mean, how do they not make a Netflix documentary about that immediately? It's
They
got to be in
will.
the works.
Yeah.
This is all alleged, obviously. Nothing has been proven yet, but the Ketamine Queen allegedly conspired to supply Perry with ketamine, and is being charged, which this is something I want to get into. She's being charged with exploiting his vulnerability and addiction, which I didn't really know. I mean, I get it, yes, but and this is a whole thing. But my first point is in the story they say that she's being charged with conspiring to supply him with ketamine. So that's the thing. But they also mentioned that this was them exploiting his vulnerability and addiction. And I I fully believe obviously addiction is a real thing, it's a disease, but I mean if you're a drug dealer and somebody wants to buy drugs from you, I don't know if you should go to jail because you should get in trouble for being a drug dealer, I guess. But I don't even really believe that because we're all adults here. Matthew Perry was an adult. I guess it's a whole nother conversation. But I don't love the idea of people, quote unquote, exploiting an addict when I don't know.
No,
it's tough to get into.
you're having a tough time with it, but
Well,
like,
because
what
look,
do you?
addiction is a disease. I fully believe that, but at the same time, he is an adult who is making adult decisions, and I don't know if he should get in trouble. I don't know if there should be charges for exploiting somebody. Again, there's all these rules, and I think anybody should be able. I think every drug should be legal. So
Okay,
the fact that she's a drug quote unquote drug dealer, I don't
let
love
me.
that angle.
Do you think that there should be a distinction rather between I dealt drugs and my drugs killed somebody? Do you know what I mean? And especially when it's like in a case
But
like this where it's like so high profile, you deal drugs to all kinds of people, but because Matthew Perry dies, all of a sudden you got to get wrapped up.
so this is what I'm really getting at, right? Is I will say I don't think I want to live in a world where anybody should be able to, adults. I'm not talking about children.
Children,
I'm
yeah.
talking about adults. When you're an adult, when you're a 54, 55-year-old man like
Yeah,
Matthew
he's
Perry,
fucking 50.
who
Yeah.
has, the bank account to support whatever he wants to do.
Right.
And if he wants to do drugs like ketamine or anything else to the point where it's going to kill him, he should be allowed to do that. I don't
Yes.
think people should get in trouble because Matthew Perry wants to do drugs until he dies. I don't
I
think he
agree.
wanted to die, but he's an adult. He knows the
The risk.
consequences to his
Yes.
actions. So
Yes.
for somebody to get in trouble, legal trouble, the possibility of doing time
Like 20 years. Yeah.
because they were supplying a consenting adult with a drug, and this is sort of my point, right? There's another case that comes to mind when I was thinking about this, when I was reading the story. There was an artist. His name was Mac Miller. He died from an overdose of prescription pills. The drug dealers that sold him the pills knew that there were fentanyl in the pills. They knowingly sold him drugs that they knew would kill him. That person should go to jail.
I
That
don't
person,
agree
why not?
because I believe that addicts seek out the highest form of the high. So Mac Miller was trying to do opiates. He was actively seeking opioids.
Yeah, but he
And
wasn't
then
he wasn't looking for he was looking for Oxycontin. He wasn't looking for fentanyl laced Oxycontin.
there's no way that at that point in your life that you're just seeking oxys and not understanding that the high is higher on fentanyl. There's no way you don't know that what you're taking
Yeah, but
is not laced. There's
they
no way.
of course, look,
It's
the idea
impossible.
the possibility of drugs being laced is of course. That's
So you
known.
would know it right away. You would know like how much harder this shit hit. Like it just it
That's
blasts you.
no, but
It,
that's that look, they knew that these pills could kill him. Yes, look, a lot of things
so
could
did he.
kill everybody. No, he wasn't aware that there was fentanyl in anything he was taking.
Why would he keep
I mean, they went to court. They're in jail. There are text messages of these people admitting to giving him drugs that they know would kill him. Now, yes, any drug could kill anybody, but they knew that these were laced drugs. I think you should be allowed to do coke. I don't think you should be allowed to sell somebody fentanyl laced coke. You shouldn't be allowed to do that. Now, if you want to sell Matthew Perry ketamine, knowing that it could kill him, but it's not like it's fentanyl laced ketamine, I think that there's a difference.
I think that drug addicts are gonna die. And like people that sell drugs to drug addicts, I don't understand
So
why
you're
they
you're
should.
you're saying that people who are drug addicts should only get their drugs from prescription pharmacies.
Do you think that that's safer?
Well, if you get it from a pharmacist, it's not going to be laced in fentanyl.
Yeah, so I mean, so it's safer to just go to a doctor. But if you don't go to a doctor and you're buying it off the street, then yeah, you're running the risk. And
Sure,
I don't understand how like people are getting bundled up.
I'm not saying that there's not a risk. I'm just saying these people knowingly sold him drugs that they knew could kill him, in the sense that they were laced with something that kills people. Now, of course, they know if they were selling him normal Oxycontin, they know that could kill him too if he did enough of it. But this would for sure kill him. It did kill him. They knew that. There are text messages of them planning to
Yeah,
leave the country because
yeah,
they knew what they did.
yeah.
I'm just
That is
saying
true.
I'm just saying Matthew Perry was buying ketamine to help him with his addiction. I don't think that they should get in trouble because they sold him ketamine. I think that they were providing a service, whether it's, quote unquote legal or not.
Mhm.
What I'm saying is I don't think the people in the Matthew Perry case should be in trouble. I don't think they should be in trouble at all. I think the people in the Mac Miller case should be in trouble because they knew what they were selling him was lethal. You know what I
But
mean?
there's, yes, I understand, but there's also text between the ketamine queen and everybody else that she was cohorting with. We
They
can
were
keep,
mocking him behind his back. Yeah.
yeah, they sold him a batch that costs like $500 or something like that for $1,500. They were overcharging him. They were doing a lot of awful shit. I understand parts of this litigation, but what I don't really agree with is the idea that Okay, so if you're giving somebody that is already an addict and you're overcharging them or whatever, you're giving them the drugs that they require, they're still asking for those drugs.
Yeah.
I don't think that you should spend 20 fucking years in jail for that.
No, of course not.
Um,
No. I don't think
but
anybody should be in trouble for providing an adult what they're
yes,
requesting by
yeah,
giving them money. Totally agree with that. Again, my whole thing is the with the Mac Miller case is this guy knew these were drugs that kill people to the extent that like I'm he wasn't selling him what he was asking for. He was asking for OxyContin. They sold him fentanyl laced OxyContin.
then that's fucked.
Matthew Perry was asking for ketamine. They were selling him ketamine. Now, whatever happens to Matthew Perry is on him. What I'm saying is the ketamine queen should have had a Disney Plus agreement to where
She get away
she
with it
couldn't have
all.
gotten any trouble. If only the ketamine queen had a Netflix type subscription based
A
program
Hulu Plus.
that could if she had ketamine plus that Matthew Perry signed an agreement for, she would have been fine.
You're evil.
I just think that it's of course it's very sad that Matthew Perry was a drug addict for most of his life
Like,
and he was taken advantage of by people close to him. These
yes.
doctors, you trust your doctor, right? Your doctor, your personal assistant, all of these
Mhm.
people that you essentially
Your
trust
drug dealer.
are all behind your back talking about how he's going to pay us 40 grand for some ketamine. We're all going to get rich. And then he dies and they all go, oh shit, now what do we do? And
I don't think
if
they
we,
should go
if
to jail for that.
I don't think they should go to jail for that either. And look, if we lived in a place like Amsterdam, where like drugs are essentially legal,
Right.
I think it would be different. I don't think they get in
Yes.
trouble for that. If anything, somebody needs to tell this woman to stop calling herself the ketamine queen because it's
That's
just
ridiculous.
tacky.
Yeah.
But
That is icky.
who knows? Who knows? Maybe that was like that was just like the name on the street, right? I don't know if did she have business cards that said ketamine queen on it? I
You
don't
think
know.
she called herself that? Maybe.
But
If she called herself that, she should go to jail.
it there should be a hefty fine for calling yourself the ketamine queen. But I mean, look, it's very sad. And you're right. The fact that he's such a high profile person, I think, is really what did them in because people
The only
obviously,
reason.
people sell drugs and people die all the time
All the
from
time.
overdoses and nobody
Yes.
cares.
No.
But this is the risk you take when when you kill Chandler.
You killed
I mean,
Chandler
what is Joey supposed to do? He can't afford that rent. That two
oh,
bedroom's like 5 grand a month.
by himself.
He's a
Can't do that.
struggling actor.
Yes.
He can't afford that. They got a duck and a chicken to feed.
Yeah.
But R.I.P. Matthew Perry, an absolute legend.
Show was okay.
I didn't love Friends,
That was all right. Yeah.
he was he was a very funny person. He seemed like a very sincere guy.
He did.
Um, and it's unfortunate addiction is a disease, and
Yes.
it's very sad that he died young, and that a lot of people are suffering because of that. And I can't wait to watch the Hulu documentary about the ketamine queen.
That's coming. It has to come.
It's coming. Oh, it's coming.
But it is
Um,
sad. You're right.
of course.
I do want to piggyback on that. The idea that like I mean he had everything and just couldn't just couldn't
I mean, dude,
couldn't deal.
he was making 20 mil a year on residuals.
Yeah, God. I mean, and just still like
Yeah.
so sad. Just
Hopefully
so
his
sad.
family will do something great with some of that residual money, maybe donate some, put it towards some sort of
Yeah.
you know,
Some kind of addiction.
yeah,
Pour it into
nonprofit to
something.
really
Yeah.
help people and yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
thank you guys so much for listening to the final word. We really do appreciate it. Please continue to spread the word and tell people about the podcast. And we'll see you on the next episode of The Final Word.
Bye bye.